Hi, in this video, we will be discussing what is API. So before deep into the example of API, we have to understand what API stands for. API stands for Application Programming Interface. Basically, it is a type of interface that helps to communicate between two applications, right? Or we can say that it is a contract that allow code to talk to other code, and it is a building block of modern software, and it allows the sharing of resources and services across applications, organizations, and devices. So before into example of API, we have to understand why API is important. So API is important in everyday life, right? We are using APIs every day in our life. API helps us to build automation, right? Suppose we are using a application like Zomato, right? In Zomato, we use map, right? So Zomato do not have built their own map application. They use the Google Map or any other map using API. This is all about the example of API and why API is important. For another example, software as a service, we can use API as a software as a service like payment APIs and texting and email APIs, right? And APIs are not limited to in tech field. APIs are used everywhere in the industry like business, healthcare, educations, right? Everywhere API are using. Okay, so let's understand with an example what is API. Okay, so we have a customer, okay, which went to a hotel and asked a waiter to some food. This is the waiter, okay, and this is the kitchen of the hotel. So customer asks the waiter or order some food. So waiter goes to the kitchen and bring it back to the customer, right? Here customer don't know how to cook the food and how to make it, right? And customer will not go to the kitchen directly to take the food, right? So waiter is a interface here. Waiter is working as an intermediate between customer and the kitchen. Same way we play with the applications, right? One is the client and another is the server. Server is the place where our data, or we can say the backend where our data is stored, right? So customer can be a browser and web application or mobile application. API is a waiter. We can consider it like a interface. It act as an interface, right? And server is a place where our data is stored, where we can create data and delete data, whatever the data we want to play with. Okay, so this is all about the example of API. And there are various type of APIs like hardware APIs, software APIs, and web APIs. Hardware APIs is basically we use mobile applications cameras, right? So mobile application cameras interact with the operating system. Similarly, software APIs, the APIs which is used in the software, right? Which consumes code from another code base, right? We will understand in another way. And web APIs, after this we will learn how to create APIs. So basically APIs is built using HTTP, right? You must be thinking that what is HTTP? Is hypertext transfer protocol, right? It is a set of rules that we have to remember while we are creating or playing with the APIs. So in this video we will learn how to build REST API, right? REST API is a representational state transfer, right? This is a client, this is a client, or we can say our browser, and this is server, right? So we follow the pattern of request and response. When the client requests to the when a client requests through API and API interact through server, and again server back to the API, and again API gives to the browser. This is the response process, right? So how we create a REST API? Let's take an example, right? So this is an example of REST API. Here, this is the whole path, right? In which you can see that this is the HTTP verb, right? HTTP verbs are some kind of operations, right? we play basically CRUD operations in API. CRUD is what? Create, read, and update and delete. These are the operations we perform over the API or over the data that we have stored in the server. So there are various type of HTTP words like post, which is used to create data, and get, which is to read data, and put and patch, which is used to update data, and delete, which is used to read the data. And after this is what? HTTP, right? This is called as protocol, right? That we have told that HTTP is a set of rules that we have to remember when we are playing with the APIs, right? And then this is a library dot server, like we need a server, right? If there is a server, which means it must have a IP address, which means it must have a unique address. Every computer or every machines have a unique address, right? So we have to know that. So this is what? This is a address, right? And after that, there is a path, the root of the server. So sometimes we call it as endpoint of the API. From here to here, we call it as endpoint of the API. So this is how REST API is created. So I hope you have learned what is API and how it is important and how we create and how we work with APIs. I hope you understand. Thank you.